Hi, this is Psychic Angel 1, and this is part 2 of the ego process. I had done a short introduction to the service or disservice of ego and what some of the primary concerns I had about why I think we should basically delete it from the um, being that we are. In the 21st century, I had mentioned that I don't find the necessity for ego. I don't think that it's going to take us to the next level of evolution. Um, but I'm not here to prove that point. I'm just going to help you to navigate what I feel is the way out. um, Please take a chance to go and review the part 1 ego so you understand, have a little bit more understanding. Some of the ways that you can reference and keep observance over when the ego's driving you and when your consciousness is driving you is it's really an internal feeling. It's really an tuning into yourself, because when we're in a state of consciousness, a higher frequency, if you will, there's a comfort. And usually the feeling around the heart and the midsection is quite warm and it's quite comfortable. It's called being comfortable in your skin. You feel at peace more or less. You might feel a little wiggle room there, but generally you feel that what you're saying and what you're thinking in what you're believing tend to sync up. And this is when you're in a more higher frequency. Also, you get information that is outside of judgment and outside of opinions. Also, you'll find many of the thoughts that come to you are of the best for you and others. They represent a more peaceful and harmonious display, okay, demonstration. So those are some of the ways you know you're in sync with the higher consciousness and higher frequency, and how the feedback of the world is, how people are receiving you and treating you. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody is going to be in a great mood. You have to be a little bit able to discern. But what happens is by practicing this and staying away from the egoic mind, the more you do it, of course, the better you get at it. Um, Watch for judgment and opinions. Although discernment is really important and having wisdom. So say somebody says, I want you to go to this event, whatever that event is. And the first thing that pops up is, oh, I don't like that particular place, or I don't want to drink alcohol, or I don't want to see that particular person. Those are judgments, right? And that's the ego filtering, okay? The ego starts filtering out things, usually wrong, because, well, it's perception. But by filtering through the higher consciousness and by taking a minute to meditate into it or to go into a calm state where you can rationalize and you can be in a more a better perception of the event, you'll realize that everything's under your control in terms of your perception of the event. So I don't want to get too heady and analyze everything. I just want to keep things very simple. But just the way to discern the difference is when you're in an intuitive state and you say, someone says, let's go to this event, you will go to the intuition for information. All right? When someone invites you somewhere, instead of the ego grabbing information, remember the last time that happened and what it goes into your memory banks and pulls some stories out, and then you are in judgment of the event. Go to the intuition instead. How do I really inside myself feel? And can I co-create a really good experience? It doesn't take more than a few minutes, and you have the choice. Make the choice to go to intuition. That's it. Just go to the higher intuition instinct instead of going to the platform of judgment and retrieving information. It's a different machine. Do you see that? You see what I'm saying? And that has to do with, another really great example. What about dating? That's really an area that challenges people because we have males and females have our lists of qualities we want. So what happens is we also feel very defensive most of the time because we're defending our profile, right? And I don't want to be with someone like this, and they better not come to me with that, and I was cheated on. So that's a really good place to practice this. Dating is an awesome place to practice living your higher truth. Very, very hard because you're basically interviewing somebody who's also going to be first and foremost for the most part, unless they're very enlightened people, they're going to be a little defensive and their fences are up, right? So this is a really good opportunity for you to say, all right, here's a person who looks like they have enough on their resume, on their profile, that I can qualify them to speak with them. And so here's an opportunity because you're going to be right away challenged. And I think the universe does this on purpose for people. I think we're continually challenged like that in interview processing with people and meeting new people and dating and being intimate. I think the whole thing goes together. But dating's a great platform. So when you go in with somebody who's you're already starting to pick apart their profile, and the first thing you do when you get on the phone, usually or text, phone's better, phone or in person, is you present this person that is to the best of your ability. You try to present the best of yourself. And the ego loves this. The ego is fully in charge of that. You could try, some people are really good at putting their heart out first. I think that's a real talent that some people have, that they can just put their heart right out there and be fully, available. Rare, but it can happen. There are people that really do live in their heart. But let's just take the average Joe. Most people who are nervous, they're waiting for something to go wrong. They're kind of protecting their self. Okay, the ego's up there. The ego's up. Here's the ego. I think he's like a big fist, right? So he's going to be talking to, or I think it's a he. He's going to be talking to the other ego, and they're going to be talking to each other. So you've got two egos, right? So this is a really, really great example. So the ego number one goes like, well, I'm looking for something really serious. And then ego number two, well, yeah, we'll just see how this goes. Let's just take it one step at a time. So this is the kind of the battle back and forth about what I want, what you want, and all these good things. So where does that come into play? Well, love, when you do fall in love, you'll notice that the ego takes a vacation. True love or true intimacy doesn't rely on the ego. It's the time that you fall in love is the time that you drop all your walls, right? You drop your pretense. In fact, if you really want to get deep and really to the point about it, you don't have a shot at any kind of love, let alone romantic, unless you tell that ego, take a vacation. I want to get intimate with this person. I want to feel them. I want to be in tune with them. I want to enjoy them in the moment. All those principles of spirituality, living in the moment, living in the now, right? Being intimate, dropping your guard, allowing love to flow between you as two human beings. That is the exact opposite of what the ego wants to do in interviewing your dates. So in the dating world, especially important, the reason why it's very hard to find someone isn't because it's hard to find someone. That's crap. The real truth is you're not doing it right. You're not going at it properly. You're not coming at them and they're not coming at you like if you had met naturally. If you were just going to the park jogging and you ran in, which I've done, and you run into somebody, you act completely different than if you meet them on a online dating or on a Facebook. You act differently. For the most part, you put the big face on, right? The big, you're not going to hurt me, and I'm not letting you too far in, and I'm not going to be vulnerable. Well, all that stuff is just blocks. Block, 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 block. The poor person on the other side, they feel weird, so they start putting up block, block, block. And this happens in friendships. This happens in business, friendships, any relationship. Any single relationship, especially in dating, is corrupted by the ego. Also marriages. Now, I deal a lot as a psychic with marriages, divorces, unfortunately, and cheating. A big part of my business because of the fact that they want somebody neutral to speak with, and they want to also have, again, they don't want to be judged for their actions of having relationships outside of the marriage. And females mostly, in case anybody's curious, mostly females. So it's everybody's on the hunt for love or companionship. So we are all scrambling around trying to find this intimacy, and I think some of the most obvious places that we can really practice non-ego is in the communities like tantric and yoga. Some spiritual communities are really good at dissolving um, the walls. Those places are really good for practicing therapy. And the reason why those things are really valuable to human beings, therapy especially, or AA, those kinds of treatment centers, all that has to do with dropping the ego and the need to be right and the opinions and the judgments and the control and the fear. What I'm going to do next is talk to you a little bit about fear. Fear is the ego's best friend. Fear is its ally. It is aligned. They are aligned together. Fear and ego go together hand in hand. Flight, it's a flight or fright. That's what the ego is for. It's to so-called protect you. It doesn't really protect you, the soul. It protects itself, the machine. The truth is that if something's sneaking up, let's just say a big animal, okay, a big bear or something, you're camping and a big bear sneaking up, the thing that's going to protect you is not the ego. Your instinct, your animal instinct, it'll raise, the hairs in your body will raise up. You'll have a sudden feeling of anxiety. That's the fight or flight instinct. That is not ego either. That is instinct. That is animal instinct. That is it's the reptilian mind. The reptilian mind we have to sustain ourselves. So the truth is that when you really start to really put these things all together, you see that the ego serves no purpose other than getting you up in competition to perform. Even what I'm doing here is his ego's favorite thing is to perform, right? And I also perform. Outside of this, I have been an entertainer outside of doing metaphysics. I always found it, once again, it's a very phony friend. It's a very phony ally, because the truth is the best work I've ever done is when I'm not in egoic state. The best work that any artist has done, musician, painter, singer, poet, always the best work they ever do is when they dial down their ego and let the truth of consciousness spill up, the intuition, and drawing down from the cosmos the most amazing concepts. So meditations and prayers and those kinds of rituals are what get us get us in tune and get us back in alignment with Source, Universal God. So what I really want to help people do is just terminate basically their ego. They don't need it. It's in the way of everything they've ever wanted and dreamed. It doesn't really present itself in the 21st century as anything useful. All beings, as I mentioned, from other dimensions do not have the same. I can't speak for every alien group or I haven't had enough contact with other extraterrestrials, but from what I understand, they do operate with telepathy, and it's pretty hard to have a telepathic mind if you're an ego. That doesn't really work. People who practice telepathy here have to have a certain clarity, and they have to remove certain barriers in order to practice that. So I'm only speaking about what I've read, honestly, and what people have explained, that when it comes to the particular extraterrestrial race or other races or hybrids, that they all operate with this directness, very direct emotions. And so I think the human race is very distinctly different. Also, I mentioned animals do not have ego. I may have some people argue this. Listen, I'm not a scientist. I just feel that this is what the experience of what people tell me and bring me, that animals are also telepathic. They are instinctive, and they practice instincts. That's what they live on. So people who are horse whisperers and dog whisperers, people that have a very gifted talent and with the animal kingdom, there's no room for that kind of attitude in working with animals. Certainly with primates, and certainly with I was going to say dangerous animals. Yeah, predators, thank you. Yeah, predators. Because if you're with a tiger, you're working with a cheetah, something like that, and you think you're one up on them, and I'm a man, I've got command, and you start going into that egoic state, guess what? You're going to get eaten. You're going to be chewed on, destroyed. So even there, it doesn't work. So I really want to encourage people to practice. Get it yourself. This is the way I would do it. Get yourself into a spiritual community, um, a psychological community, healing community, human consciousness, something that people practice, therapy, group therapies, anything where you can really start to devote yourself to knocking down the walls that keep us separated and really practicing the oneness of humanity. Um, and you will find your life will be very peaceful. You'll get a lot of things without much struggle anymore. You'll get cooperation. You will, here's a good one. When you're dealing with authority figures, when you're dealing with so-called authority figures, say legal battles or any kind of battle where you think someone's got one up on you, they have more money, maybe you're dealing with a entity, a group, an institution, police force, whatever it is, right? Government, you have much more leverage if you use the power of consciousness than you would ever with ego. In fact, some of the best speakers you should study in history. So we're going a little long on this. This is 16 minutes long. So I'm going to close this out by saying please do subscribe, share this. It's free to share. I don't charge for these. My work as a psychic, and that's where I make my income. So I just want to share the knowledge and love, peace, and happiness. Bye now.